You're hearing this, not by accident. There's a reason why, out of all the sounds in the world tonight, your heart chose to pause, right here. Somewhere beyond what the eyes can see, your Father in heaven is trying to reach you, Aries, to tell you something your soul has been longing to hear for a very long time. And only now, in this stillness, can he finally touch you. Don't leave just yet, because in the next few moments, you'll begin to understand why every storm, every loss, every quiet night of loneliness that once felt meaningless was never random at all, but a sacred message sent straight from him to you. Beneath the night sky, where starlight blends with the breath of the wind, a voice is whispering soft, steady, almost ancient. It isn't the voice of man, but something deeper, the voice rising from the very center of your soul. That voice carries the warmth of a father, not the father of this world, but your Father in heaven, the one who's been walking beside you through all those years you thought you were alone. Aries, your life has been a series of battles between courage and exhaustion, between light and the shadows inside your own heart. You always get back up, even when your legs are shaking. You keep smiling, even when there's no one left beside you, and your Father sees that. He's seen you in the long nights, your breath mixing with the sound of the wind, as you whisper, "Does anyone really see me?" And his answer, always, is this: "Yes, I see you. I never left." He wants you to know, not one step you've taken has been wasted. Every fall taught you how to rise. Every loss taught you how to love without clinging. In his eyes, those were never failures. They were sacred carvings shaping the strength of your soul. Your Father in heaven understands your fatigue, not the kind that sits in your bones, but the kind that lives deep inside, where you've had to be strong, not just for yourself, but for everyone who leaned on you. But today, he wants you to know, you don't have to carry it all anymore. True strength isn't about conquering the world, it's about daring to admit that you too deserve to be loved, to be held, to finally rest in peace. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a hand resting gently on your shoulder, not pushing, not commanding, just offering warmth. That's him. In the stillness of your breath, he whispers that he's been protecting you from storms you never even knew were there, the kind that wanted to drown you, but never could. Every loss you've faced wasn't punishment, it was preparation. A divine rearranging of your path so that what's truly meant for you could find its way in. You once asked, "Why did they leave? Why did I have to hurt?" And today, he answers softly, "Because I needed you to be free. I needed space in your heart for new light to enter. The things you thought had ended were only transforming. The people who hurt you were sent to awaken the gentleness inside you. And when you look back, you'll see, even among the ruins, there's still a part of your soul that never stopped shining." Aries, trust this. Everything unfolding now rests in the hands of eternal love. No one can take from you what was written for you. No one can extinguish the flame he placed within your heart before you were born. Now, as your heart begins to soften and the noise of the world fades into quiet, allow yourself to be still. Because in that stillness, you will finally hear what your soul has been longing for, the gentle signals from heaven, the subtle signs of sacred love woven into the smallest moments around you. And sometimes, right in the emptiest hours, that light will touch you again like a breath, like a thin beam breaking through the clouds, a quiet promise that something new is on its way. Something you haven't named yet, but your soul is already ready to receive. And as his voice grows softer, blending with the rhythm of your heartbeat, it becomes an invitation to listen closer, because the next whispers are already beginning to appear in the smallest, most ordinary miracles around you. In this loud and restless world, there are still moments that seem meaningless, yet hide something sacred. A morning when you wake up, and the first ray of sunlight gently touches your face, and for a brief second, you feel held by something far greater than yourself. No one speaks, no sign appears, but your heart suddenly grows still, as if your soul whispers, "I'm being seen." Aries, your Father in heaven doesn't speak through thunder or miracles. He speaks through the smallest details, a song that plays the moment you're losing hope, a stranger's smile when you feel invisible, or simply the scent of the afternoon wind reminding you that this world is still kind. That's how he touches you, not through power, but through the gentle language of love. When you start believing you've been forgotten, he sends you a pocket of peace, just enough for your heart to breathe again. When you think no one's listening, he lets someone's simple words mend the part of you that's grown numb. He doesn't appear to prove himself. He simply reminds you, quietly, that love still exists, not in grand gestures, but in the tiny moments only open hearts can recognize. Maybe you're driving down a familiar road, watching the old trees shed their leaves, and suddenly a strange thought arrives. Everything is changing, and so am I. That thought doesn't come from nowhere. It's a message from somewhere far yet close, from your Father, who's been watching quietly, pouring his light into every moment you once thought was random. Sometimes he doesn't use words. He lets time do the healing. A sadness you thought would last forever softens after one sunset. A deep wound that used to choke your breath no longer hurts the same. No one can explain it, but your soul knows some invisible hand is stitching the tears within you. Aries, if you're hearing this, slow down for a moment. Look around. Feel how the universe is whispering to you. Every sound, every breath, every heartbeat is a message from your Father in heaven, telling you he's still here, still loving you with a love that asks for nothing, that needs no proof, that only asks you to exist. This world may try to convince you that love must be loud, visible, dramatic. But the truth is, the smallest things often hold the holiest kind of love. A gentle touch, a kind word, a glance filled with compassion, each is a doorway through which his light enters your life, bit by bit, day by day. So you'll never forget that you were not born to be alone, but to feel and to share this quiet love that never fades. And maybe, without realizing it, your attention to these small, sacred things is what opens the gate to real miracles. When you begin to notice the subtle signs, your soul starts to shift. It softens, it brightens, it breathes again. And from that light within you, you stop only seeing his signs, you become one, a living reminder to someone else that they, too, are loved. The fire within you was never meant only to warm, it was meant to test the very heart that carries it. That flame has led you through paths few have the courage to walk. Others see your light and think you never grow tired, but only you know that glow has often been fed by your own tears. Aries, your Father in heaven has witnessed it all, the quiet nights, when you stared into the dark, a faint smile still on your lips while your soul trembled with exhaustion. You've tried to be the strong one, the one who doesn't need saving, the one who keeps standing even when the storm tears everything apart. But in that strength, he still hears the faint sighs you never let anyone else hear. He knows how deeply you've loved, how you've trusted in beauty, only to be betrayed by the very faith that kept you alive. And yet, instead of hardening your heart, you chose forgiveness. You chose to believe that something sacred is still working quietly in this world. That is why you are still called a child of light, because even in pain, you continue to offer warmth to others. But your Father wants you to understand no one can keep their flame alive forever if they let every passing wind blow through without protection. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to win every battle. Sometimes, losing isn't the end. It's an invitation to trust more deeply in yourself and in him. When you are weary, he is still there, watching you with the tenderness of a father who has been a warrior himself. He knows the weight of silence, the ache of smiling while no one sees your pain. And he whispers, "You don't have to burn endlessly to prove your light." True light comes from faith, not endurance. Sometimes, it's in the moment you think you're breaking that you are being reborn. Your fire is being refined, no longer burning you, but transforming into a steady, pure glow, gentle, grounded, but stronger than ever. It's the light of a soul that has learned to trust, no longer afraid of loss. Aries. This clash between fire and faith isn't a war to win or lose. It's the journey of realizing you were never meant to control everything, only to keep the kindness within your heart alive. The world can test you, but it can never take your light, unless you decide to put it out. And your father whispers again, "Let me hold it for you, let your fire be guided by faith, not consumed by fear." One day, when you look back, you'll understand that every collision, every heartbreak, every moment that felt unfair was a divine choreography, teaching you how to release without losing yourself. Like when fire meets the wind, if you stop fighting, it doesn't die. It simply changes direction, burning freer and far more beautifully. And in that meeting point between surrender and strength, something miraculous takes shape. A transformation from power into faith, from fighting into flowing. The fire is still there, but now it's not just yours, it's his. It's the fire of heaven and the universe, moving through you to light the way ahead. In that soft haze, as the brightness eases, a stillness unfolds. And within that stillness, your father is sending you something sacred, a quiet lesson about trust, about laying down your sword, and finally, letting your heart rest. Sometimes, a person spends half a lifetime wearing armor they've forgotten how to take off. Aries, you've worn yours too. It isn't made of steel, it's forged from memories, responsibilities, promises, and old wounds. You've carried it since you were young, when the world taught you that to survive, you must be strong, and to be loved, you must never fall. But there are nights when you're alone, and your soul whispers something your mind doesn't want to hear, a small voice, soft as a passing breeze, saying, "Stop." It isn't calling you to surrender, it's calling you home. Home to the tender, honest part of yourself that you left behind under layers of pride and protection. Aries, your Father in heaven has never loved you because you were strong. He loves you because your heart knows how to love, how to ache, how to forgive. And perhaps the greatest strength you've ever carried is not your endurance, but your ability to stand in the ruins and still choose kindness. He sees you when you smile with an empty heart. He sees you when you help others even when your own energy is gone. He knows how long you've lived, trying to prove yourself, trying to be good enough, strong enough, worthy enough. But now, he wants you to know you already are. Even in your softest, weakest, most human moments, you are enough. You don't have to hold everything up anymore. You don't have to hide. You don't have to keep pretending you're unbreakable. When you let go, you don't lose anything. You simply give your Father the chance to hold your soul instead. Letting go doesn't mean defeat. It means trust. Trust that there is another hand carrying the sword for you so that you can rest, breathe, and finally see the vast sky that your armor has been blocking all this time. Letting go is an act of faith. It's believing that even when you're not in control, everything is still unfolding perfectly. It's knowing that silence can be prayer and stillness, a form of strength. When you stop fighting, you don't lose your fire, you just let it burn to the rhythm of your heart, not the rhythm of fear. And then, in that quiet space, among the pieces of what once was, something miraculous begins. You start to hear your own voice again. No more noise from expectations, no more demands from fear, only your breathing, steady and light. And you realize you were never alone. There's been a light walking beside you all along, waiting patiently for the moment you'd finally slow down enough to see it. When you set the armor down, you don't become weaker, you become real. You start to see the world not through the eyes of defense, but through the eyes of compassion. You begin to understand that everyone is fighting a battle of their own, and sometimes a single act of gentleness can shift an entire heart. That's the sacred lesson your Father is sending you now. Letting go isn't failure. Letting go makes room for miracles. Because miracles cannot reach a heart still locked in fear. They come only when you open, when you trust that love keeps flowing even when you do nothing at all. So now, Aries, let yourself soften. Let your shoulders fall after years of holding up the world. Maybe you don't know what's coming next, but just by choosing to release, you've already opened a door. And on the other side of that door, as the wind shifts and light begins to change, a new energy is approaching, gentle as morning light, deep as a calm breath. A sign that the moment you dare to set down your armor, the first miracle begins to form, the miracle of protection and peace. The days you thought you were abandoned were the very days your Father was quietly protecting you. Some people didn't leave because they stopped loving you, they left because your Father knew that if they stayed, you would never be free. Some doors closed not because you failed, but because He knew that as long as they stayed open, the light could never truly enter. Aries, sometimes your Father's greatest blessings arrive disguised as loss. He's seen every tear you've hidden in the dark, every whispered prayer that no one else heard. You thought you were falling apart, but in truth, you were being cleansed. Your Father has been gently untying the invisible cords that have bound your heart, the ones made of fear, guilt, and expectation. He knows you've carried too much that was never yours to hold, relationships that shrank your soul, duties that drowned your inner voice. And so, He chose the most merciful way to protect you, by taking away the very things you once believed you couldn't live without. You wrestled between holding on and letting go, between faith and heartbreak. But He wants you to understand what left your life was never punishment. It was a blessing in disguise. He never wanted you to stay in the arms of sweet words that were hollow, or hands that gripped you out of fear, not love. He wants you to step into the light where you can finally breathe freely without asking anyone for permission to be yourself. And when everything falls quiet, when the emptiness inside you feels endless, that's when the miracle begins to unfold. Peace doesn't arrive with noise or celebration. It comes like a cool breeze after a long storm, gentle but deep. You begin to see that life isn't punishing you anymore. The world softens. The right people find their way to you. The right opportunities appear right on time. No more chasing. Just alignment, as if the universe is whispering, "Now, you're ready." Aries, peace is the first sign of divine protection. When your soul grows light, prosperity finds you not because you're striving, but because your energy has shifted. You no longer run or cling, you simply stand still, and what's meant for you recognizes you, because in the eyes of heaven, the stillness of a clear heart is far more powerful than any effort. And if today you feel caught in the in-between, not fully at peace, but no longer in pain, know this: you're in the most beautiful place of all. It's the space where your Father is finishing His quiet work within you. He's changing your rhythm, teaching every cell to rest. And in that rest, you begin to hear the gentlest sound, the voice of your own soul, finally healing. From here on, you won't need to control anything. Each time you relax your grip, a small miracle blooms. The right person will appear. An unexpected opportunity will knock. Or maybe, on an ordinary morning, you'll simply wake up and notice that your heart feels lighter. Your Father wants you to remember what's truly yours can never be lost. No matter how long the path winds, no matter how many seasons pass, it will find its way back the very moment you're peaceful enough to receive it. So don't rush. Peace isn't the ending, it's the beginning. And when you finally rest inside that peace, the flow of life begins to turn, bringing miracles you never dared to believe in. And sometimes those miracles wear the shape of a gaze, a presence, a love that comes not to test you anymore, but to heal you. Love doesn't always arrive like a sudden wind. Sometimes it returns as a familiar warmth, the kind you thought the world had long forgotten. Aries, your Father in heaven knows how deeply you have loved, how you've given even when you had nothing left to give. You've walked through relationships that shattered your heart, tasted the ache of being misunderstood, abandoned, overlooked, even when all you wanted was to be seen, truly seen. And yet, through every heartbreak, you never stopped believing in light. That faith, that quiet, unshaken hope, is why He now sends you His most sacred gift, a love that no longer hurts. He isn't sending someone to teach you another lesson you've learned enough. Instead, He's sending a soul, maybe a person, maybe a kindred presence, or simply an energy that brings your heart to stillness. This love doesn't come to test you, to make you fight or prove yourself. It comes to lift you up. It will feel like a small candle glowing in a dark room, not loud, not dazzling, but steady and warm. You'll recognize it not through words, but through the peace you feel when it's near. You won't have to wear a mask, or explain yourself, or pretend to be stronger than you are. Because this love or this energy will love you the same way your Father loves you, unconditionally, with respect, and with healing in every touch. Aries, you once thought love was a flame to guard with your life, but your Father wants you to understand true love doesn't need protection. It already knows how to survive, how to grow, as long as your heart stays open. When you dare to love again, not from fear, but from faith, your energy begins to shift. The light within you spreads outward, and in that light, others start to heal too in the very way you once wished to be healed. This love isn't only meant for someone else, it's also meant for you. Because you can't truly receive love until you've learned to be gentle with yourself. Look back for a moment. Every wrong person, every time you forgot your worth, was leading you here to the place where you finally know how to love without losing yourself. Your Father wants you to remember, to love isn't to forget yourself, it's to recognize yourself in the reflection of another soul. When love is built on gratitude and understanding, it doesn't wound, it becomes companionship. A hand resting softly on your shoulder when you need to rest, a laugh that reminds you life is still beautiful. This love won't promise perfection, but it will be real. It might arrive in the form of a stranger you never noticed before, or an old friend returning unexpectedly. It might come through the simple act of you learning to say, "I forgive," or in the quiet moment you pause amid the noise of life just to hold yourself again. However it comes, its energy will always feel the same, tender, steady, and deep. When this love enters your life, you'll know it's different. Not because it's flawless, but because you're ready. You no longer seek salvation in another, you walk beside them as equals on the same healing path. This love won't erase your scars, it will make them beautiful. Each mark becomes proof of a heart that dared to love, to believe, to be reborn. Aries, your Father wants you to believe that you deserve this, because a heart that has learned to love through pain also knows how to love through light. And when you open yourself to this kind of love, miracles begin to ripple outward, not just within you, but through everyone who comes near your energy. And then, as peace grows inside you, with each calm breath, you'll begin to notice something, as if life itself is being rearranged, preparing you for a new chapter. A journey not only about love, but about purpose. Because you were born to bring light to this world with the very heart that once broke, but still chose to love. There are souls born to walk through darkness not because they deserve suffering, but because they're the only ones strong enough to bring light back into it. Aries, you are one of those souls. Your Father in heaven knows every step you've taken, every fall, every moment you thought you couldn't rise again, but you did rise. Not because you didn't feel pain, but because deep within you burns a sacred fire that refuses to die. You've lived through days even you couldn't understand, losses, fears, betrayals that seemed to burn your heart to ashes. But your father says, not a single wound was wasted. Every pain has shaped you into someone who sees life through the eyes of compassion. You no longer look at the world with judgment, but with understanding. And that is what makes you a bearer of light for those still wandering in the dark. Now, you are no longer the warrior of pain, you are the keeper of peace. You've learned to walk gently, without needing to prove anything, without chasing validation or recognition, because you've realized true power isn't in changing the world, but in changing the energy you bring to it. Aries, this is your time of rebirth. Not a sudden miracle, but a quiet awakening. Each morning, you rise and choose kindness. Each time you forgive instead of hate. Each moment you open your heart instead of closing it, that is your soul being reborn. Your father sees that light, the light of a soul now led by faith, not fear. He wants you to know the world needs your energy. Not the energy of a fighter, but of a listener, a healer, a presence that warms. When you smile, someone feels lighter. When you offer your hand, someone finds their hope again. When you choose calm instead of anger, you heal a small piece of humanity itself. That is your mission, not loud, not grand, but a quiet act of love that keeps the world alive. Your father whispers, when you walk the path meant for you, the whole universe opens before you. And it's true, Aries. When you stop resisting the flow, every door begins to open. The opportunities you once chased now come to find you. Souls who share your frequency begin to appear. Life is no longer a battle, it becomes a collaboration with heaven itself. Rebirth doesn't mean becoming someone new. It means returning to who you truly are, the part of you that once hid under the dust of pain but never disappeared. When you live from that truth, you don't live just for yourself, but for all those who haven't yet remembered that they, too, can rise again. And then, in the quiet of twilight, as the last light of day brushes your face, you'll realize everything has led you here. The past is no longer a burden, but the foundation beneath your feet. From that foundation, a new road unfolds, one not built on fear, but guided by faith and gratitude. Because in the end, your purpose was never to change others, it was to become the light, so they could see the path within themselves. And in that moment, as your soul begins to glow from within, a soft breeze moves through the air. It's as if your father is very near, smiling gently and whispering, "Now you understand, don't you? Every sorrow, every storm was simply the road leading you back to me and to yourself." That light continues to spread warm, tender, and alive, a sign that something sacred is approaching. A final message from him, just for you.